Yeah. So Chase, tell me about your business. What was more than 10 years ago, so a decade ago, what was that thing where you're like, all right, I'm doing this, we're growing this. Tell me about that moment.
Honestly, I don't know that there was an exact moment. I went to school for college. I went to college for entrepreneurship and accounting, and I always knew that I wanted to do something with business.
What was kind of the hardest thing coming into it for someone that is maybe in a similar position where they're like, I don't know, maybe corporate life isn't for me. I want to go into kind of local home service based businesses. What was that kind of that point where you're like, okay, I can make that switch? What does that look like?
When you're starting a business, it's you. If a lot of business owners, they don't have a nest egg sitting over here, you're bootstrapping the thing. You're going and buying a truck. You're buying, maybe used equipment even. You're trying to figure out everything. And that's tough because, trial and error is a part of it, but can also be pretty costly.
Welcome to another edition of the Superpro podcast. I'm Roland Ligtenberg. I'm the co-founder of Housecall Pro. And since 2013, we've been on a mission to champion the trades and to champion our pros because the work you all do keep our homes safe, comfortable, communities running, and in Chase's world, super clean. Through Housecall Pro, I've had the privilege of supporting hundreds of thousands of pros just like you all, empowering you all to achieve more, stress less, and redefine success in our industry. I'm really excited here because we've got Chase Hoagland. He's the owner and founder of Local Pro Carpet Cleaning, a carpet cleaning service based out of Birmingham, Alabama, some place I've always wanted to visit. We talked about it before the show. They're on track for $2.5 million in revenue this year with 27 employees and 23 vehicles on the road. Definitely a scaled business. I'm super excited to ask Chase a bunch of questions today for you guys. Chase, welcome to the show.
Hey, Roland. Thank you. I appreciate it. What an honor to be here. A shout out to the super pros that are working smart, hopefully not too hard today out there in the heat. So super pumped to be here. Let's do this thing.
Yeah. So Chase, tell me about your business. What was the kind of the turning point for you when you were like, all right, I am going to get into business back in 2014? So more than 10 years ago, so a decade ago. What was that thing where you're like, all right, I'm doing this, we're growing this. Tell me about that moment.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I don't know that there was an exact moment. I went to school for college. I went to college for entrepreneurship and accounting, and I always knew that I wanted to do something with business. Never thought I'd end up in the service industry. Didn't know anything about carpet cleaning. I was dating this girl in college. Her dad owned a carpet cleaning company, and I was like, hey, let me see what this is all about. So that girl ended up being my wife, and I got kind of tugged into the carpet cleaning industry, I guess you'd say, and honestly fell in love with it. I enjoyed seeing before and after results. I enjoyed interacting with customers on a daily basis. The model was really simple and easy, and I started looking around, and I was like, man, there's not many people that really are doing this at a high level. And that was really, really exciting to me. I was like, this is something that, if you kind of do a few things here and there, kind of pay attention to some details, it could be really good. So yeah, been in the industry for a while now. Started off kind of as a family business with some other family members under another brand. Was with them for several years, and eventually, once the company kind of grew to a point, we said, hey, the vision's not as clear. We're not quite as aligned with what we're trying to do here in the next. So we kind of split and amicably kind of went our separate ways. And Local Pro Carpet Cleaning, just like it sounded, your local professional carpet cleaning company, kind of came to formation. We kicked it off this year, but been in the industry for a while. Really love the carpet cleaning industry. So.
Yeah. And when, you're coming from a little bit of a different background and you made that transition, what was kind of the hardest thing coming into it for someone that is maybe in a similar position where they're like, I don't know, maybe corporate life isn't for me. I want to go into kind of local home service based businesses. What was that kind of that point where you're like, okay, I can make that switch? What does that look like?
Yeah. So, at first, of course, when you're starting a business, it's you. If a lot of business owners, they don't have a nest egg sitting over here, you're bootstrapping the thing. You're going and buying a truck. You're buying, maybe used equipment even. You're trying to figure out everything, and that's tough because trial and error is a part of it, but can also be pretty costly. It can be expensive. So I was very fortunate to come into an organization that already had some history, a little bit of knowledge, but even still, once I kind of went out on my own and did my own thing, at first it was wearing all the hats. I'm answering the phones, I'm cleaning the carpet, doing anything and everything that pertains to the business. And, college was really my only experience before that. Yeah, I'd worked some odd and end jobs, but I didn't know anything about how to run a business. I didn't know anything about marketing, and SEO and backlinks and all this terminology. So, it was overwhelming at first, but one thing that, we're going to talk about football here a little bit, Alabama football. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. Fall's coming up, Nick Saban, whether you like him or not, he always talks about focus on the process, right? Don't focus on the outcome, but focus on the process. And, as our business scaled and as we went from wearing all the hats to eventually hiring a technician and so forth, really tried to focus on like, hey, what am I trying to do today? What is important to accomplish today? And if we can even get 50% of that right, we're moving forward. The needle may not look like it's moving today, but it's moving. So that's kind of what it was all about starting out.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, as you're trying to wear all these different hats, it's like, where do you focus your time on? And how do you delegate some of the hats you were wearing to others, right? And then focus on other hats. So tell me a little bit about that. 27 employees, you got like a lot of folks. I think first, that often step, the first one is the hardest when you let someone else do the work. Like how are you able to do that? How did you teach yourself to do that? Walk me through that.
Yeah, so it's of course evolved over the years, and I'll be honest with you, delegation, not my strong suit. That's one of my greatest weaknesses. Not that I feel like I can do it better than someone else. I don't like letting go of things, and it scared me that, hey, I'm going to now hand the keys over to this guy that I really don't know to drive my van that may or may not wreck it, and he's going to go to this customer that I spent a lot of money to acquire, and I don't know if he's going to do the right thing or not. So it's a part of the process. You can't let fear get in your way. Early on, we didn't have standard operating procedures. We didn't have systems. We didn't have, certain checklists that we did when we went in a customer's home. It was just kind of like, hey, you're going to meet me out in the rug room and I'm going to show you some things and you're on your way. And as we scaled, as we opened additional locations, we're now in 7 different cities. That became quite a bottleneck and quite a problem. We're catching calls from customers that are not happy with us, and like, whoa, what's going on here? And we realized as we were scaling that it's important that we have these standard operating procedures. And they don't have to be, you hear people talk about SOPs and these different things. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be on a dinner napkin if you want to, but you need to write it down so that there's a clear understanding of what we're doing here, what your job expectation is. So for us, as we grew, it was really important that we clearly defined what your roles and responsibilities were in our company. I think that's anybody wants to know, what am I being held accountable to? What am I being asked to do? And if that's not clear, then it's kind of hard to go to someone and say, hey, you're not performing, and they didn't even know they were supposed to be doing that. So you got to outline those things. For us, everybody in our organization has a goal or KPI, right? Everything down from the individuals answering incoming calls, our customer service reps, their goal is to book 90% of incoming calls. To our technicians that go out in the field, they have a certain job average, we call it, certain percentage of jobs that they go to that they should get a review. So it was really important to outline those KPIs and those goals. And then when they meet them, reward the team members, make them feel like it's their company and take ownership in it. That was a key part of our success and growth and an ability to retain talent, which we all know in today's world is critical. I mean, you're only as good as your team. You can have the greatest process in the world, but if you don't have good team members, good luck.
Yeah, definitely. One of Nick Saban's quotes, focus on progress, not the results. And definitely the beginning stages, it's just like every day, show up, don't focus on winning the game. Just focus on like the next 7 seconds, like what is that next job, that next task, that next call.
Yep.
Can you book it? Those pieces. And like you said, I think if you don't outline what needs to happen or what you expect to be done, it's hard to hold someone against it. But if it's written down and they know it and they're measured against it, that helps build that progress kind of like step by step by step. And then long term, you win the game. You built a great company, but you don't start off with that and then just like try to work your way back because you have a difficult time because there's so many moving pieces.
Exactly.
To that puzzle.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're looking for good people to hire, what are you looking for? Is there like a great interview question that you love to ask that gives you some like key piece of insight? I mean, clearly you've done something right. What are you looking for? What does that process look like, inside a local pro?
Yeah. I mean, of course, we have questions. We have a kind of a list of questions that we're going to ask during the interview process. Sometimes people are truthful, sometimes they're not, and you find that out. I've had some people that I thought were really going to be some great hires, and they turned out to be complete duds, and then vice versa. I've had some I was on the fence on, like, I don't know. I guess we'll give this guy a shot, and they're still working for us. They're all stars. So for me personally, I love to let people talk. I like to, and I'm guilty of talking too much. So on interviews, it's hard for me, but I'm telling myself, Chase, shut up and let them talk, because if I can get them talking, I start to understand who this person is. I start to understand what makes this person tick and what's important to them. And yes, certain experience may be better than others. Certain, whatever might fit a certain profile or criteria for the job. But for me, when I'm interviewing someone, I'm looking at our team, I'm looking at our company culture, and I'm looking at, okay, is this an individual that I feel like will come in, buy into our process? They got to be willing to learn. They got to be willing to adapt our process. And are they a motivated individual? Do they want to better their life and better themselves? And if I can kind of pick up on that, then I'm willing to give them a chance. That's really the main thing that I look for.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I think hiring is one of the hardest things because you're making a big gamble and you're making an investment. You're going to spend a lot of time on it, and people underestimate how much investment in people you have to make to build a successful business. So you can't just go like, okay, it's my cousin, so they're not going to screw me over. Like, that's not a great reason, or maybe they do. Who knows? But reasons like that aren't great.
No, it's not. Recruiting and training is expensive. Whatever platform you use, I guarantee it's not cheap. So you're paying for ads. If you want to get a decent response, you're probably paying for ads. And then you find these individuals and you're investing time and resources and different things like that into training. As we've grown, we have automated some of it, which has been nice. We use a third-party program. It's called Talent LMS. And, one thing that I want to see before we invest too much personal time is, okay, are you self-disciplined? Can I give you this login? And can you go through this online training program in a decent amount of time? And I want to see, are you committed to learning some things before you take the time of a manager or someone else in an organization and then don't even show up the next day, which we've all had happen to us. So that's been helpful too.
Yeah, I think that's a great golden nugget you shared, which is like sometimes giving people some pre-work to do beforehand not only helps in the buying, but helps you measure, like, are they willing to self-improve, do things, self-starter, et cetera? Or is this someone you're always going to have to chase and chase and chase? Because those are the most time-sucking, individuals. Because, there's not going to do something unless, you always have, the stick versus, the carrot they have themselves. So, you built clearly a big enough business to where you have to be thinking about different marketing channels and lead channels, and where does your business get more business from? How do you think about it, and how is it different maybe from when you were just starting out to kind of where you are now? How did you make that step, that leap? What does that kind of look like from a lead source distribution, channel distribution, building it out?
Yeah. So early on, of course, we didn't have a lot of money, and it involved knocking doors. It involved calling on commercial accounts, stopping by hotels and saying, "Hey, can I do a free demo?" Because I was confident in our process. I knew that if I could ever get a demo or show them or clean an area for free, I felt like, okay, there's a good chance of me landing this account or this customer using us. So that's how it was starting out. I can't stress the importance of reinvesting back into your business. I've got some friends that's like, that are in different industries, and they go get this big job, and then next thing you know, they're blowing that money on personal things. And it's like, well, how are you going to go get the next big job? So for us early on, it was every dollar that I possibly could, I'm reinvesting back into marketing. I'm trying to put it back into the business. And a lot of times that was trial and error years ago and still today. Google is our main source of advertising. I'm sure a lot of home service professionals are the same way. Google's doing quite well, I would say, on us. But that's where a lot of people, you got to be in front of the consumer. You got to think about, if I'm a consumer and I'm looking for carpet cleaning, where am I going to go? What is going to entice me? So, as we grew and we were able to put some money back, we started experimenting with, different forms of advertising. We've done every door direct mail back in the day, and postcards that are as big as the mailbox, reminders to customers. There's no customer or client better than the one you already have, but you'll lose them if you don't stay in front of them, because people see things flashy, new stuff. So, make sure that you're remarketing back to your existing clients. But
how are you using postcards now? Are you still doing that, Chase, or is that something you tried in the early days and then kind of backed off of, and now you're more digital, or mix? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, we're more digital right now. We've got a good flow of work, and of course we're looking to increase it, but we're really right now we're pretty lean through the summer for our industry. We're not very seasonal, but summer's a busy time anyway. So past couple of months, we kind of are able to cut some of those needed extra advertising sources and really run off of just the organic rankings that we have in our Google local service ads account. I'd highly recommend those to individuals. If you don't have a local service ad account, you are missing out. Yes, it's costly, but it's worth it if you answer your phone live. It blows my mind the number of people that spend money on advertising and then don't answer your phone. It's mind-boggling to me. You've got to answer that phone live. People are not going to wait. We live in a now society. People want it now. And the same thing, if you call into our office and you say you're looking for soonest available, we're going to tell you we got same day or next day availability. We're going to figure it out. Because if I tell you, my first available is next week, they may book with me. They may not book with me, but they're probably going to keep shopping around. I mean, it's just the society that we live in. People don't want to wait with Amazon and DoorDash and everything at your fingertips. So, that's been critical for us from a not necessarily marketing channel, but a marketing angle and approach is we're offering same day services. We're offering next day appointments. We have online booking capabilities that you don't have to pick up the phone and talk to someone. You can go on and you can schedule, laying in bed tonight and never have to speak to us. And you're going to get a confirmation email and text message saying, hey, your appointment's set. We look forward to seeing you. So, just making sure that those channels are simple, making sure that you're following up on it. I don't think there's any bad advertising out there, so to speak. I think the mistake that a lot of people make is they try something and they don't monitor the results. Like, you have got to know, if I'm spending $1,000 on, Thumbtack today or whatever source of advertising, I need to know that I can look back and say, okay, I spent this amount of money and this is what I got in return. And for us, that needs to be at a certain percentage or else we're going to cut it. So I think tracking your results is critical. You need to know your numbers forwards and backwards.
Yeah, that's a great golden nugget. A lot of people try a lot of different marketing things, but then they don't even measure it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and they're like, I think the phone kind of rang, and it rang a little more than it usually does, but I don't know if that was because the storm was coming or
right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think, a lot of people will be like, well, I tried this advertising and I think it just didn't work, so I'm never going to do it again. I'm like, how much did you spend on Facebook ads? Only $1,000 over the period of 30 days. Oh, okay. And did you measure it? No, we didn't do the coupon thing, so we couldn't really track it so much. I'm like, well, hold on. Whoa. If you want to scale, you got to measure it. That's a great golden nugget.
Got to measure it. Got to.
Yeah. At what point, actually, before I ask this question, what level of tech savviness would you rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10? 0, which is the in-laws, which call me to reboot their TV, to 10, where you're coding and you're vibe coding stuff right now. Where do you fall within that spectrum?
I'm laughing because before we ever used Housecall, which was our first software that we ever used back in the day, we were pen and paper writing jobs down on that. And I guess some old habits just die hard. I still, to this day, sometimes catch myself writing on pen and paper. And I'm like, I got this great software system. Why am I using pen and paper for stuff? Tech savvy. My office manager was on this. She would give me a -10. I'm not tech savvy at all. But, again, business and personal, I feel like it's the same thing. You're working on your weaknesses. And I'll just give you back to the marketing thing. I didn't know the first thing about marketing when I started. I knew zero, but I realized that was the key component to being successful. I knew our carpet cleaning process was great. I knew I'd be dependable and show up, but if I couldn't get the phone to ring, I was going to starve to death. So I knew I had to figure out marketing. Early on, I hired a couple of companies and they started using this big lingo and words. And I'm like, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. I don't know what algorithms are, and I don't know what backlinks and domain authority and all this stuff. So I started researching. I just literally started watching, YouTube videos and researching. And over time, I came to learn enough that I was probably dangerous if I tried to do it myself. But, it kept me in a position where when I was able to have a conversation with someone on the marketing side, or I was able to have what this means, that makes sense to me, check, that's good for us, check, no, that's not good for us. So I'm not tech savvy to answer your question, but working on my weaknesses, I learned to be tech savvy because I realized that that's the way the world's going. That's the way the business is going. And I don't want to be one of those businesses that life cycles out too fast and never even took off, or, just plummets off the cliff. So you have to evolve.
Yeah. Look, I just, that's a great golden nugget within itself, which is you kind of want to be the general contractor of your business where you know enough to do it. And if you had to do the work, you could, but you wouldn't do it as well as a master plumber or a master electrician. And so, but you know enough to know which subs are good, which ones you actually want to have work on your project versus enough. So it means like you can't be completely bullshitted.
Right. Exactly.
Maybe like a little bit, but like, I think it's one of those things where, I think, if you don't know components of your business, there's enough material and stuff online to get you to the baseline so you can make good decisions, or at least you feel comfortable enough making decisions so you're not completely like, snakeskin oiled, on whatever it is you happen to not know. I almost think there's no excuse in today's day and age with the amount of information that's online that you haven't heard of some of the things if you're truly interested in hiring that out, finding someone to work for you, because if there's something I don't know about, I would have a hard time even figuring out who to hire for a thing or a vendor to pick, because I just wouldn't know. I'd be relying on them. And that's kind of, I don't know. I don't buy a car that I don't know anything about. Right. I'm going to go look online a little bit about it. I'm going to get some forums. I'm going to look at some Instagram reels. I'm going to figure it out before I go and just hop into the dealership or talk to a private party.
Yeah. Exactly. And that, to your point, Roland, I mean, there's so many resources out there, and, Housecall Pro, I mean, the reporting aspect is customer service reps are booking at. I need to know what my job average or ticket average is. I need to know how many jobs we booked today. And, Housecall Pro has all that, and it's very easy to access. There's no way I would use a CRM or software or anything like that didn't have those capabilities. So, props to Housecall Pro for the great reporting, because that is something that we use on a daily basis.
That's awesome to hear. And it goes back to what you said earlier, which is you got to know your numbers. And so, it's kind of, if you want good data out, you've got to have good data in. And part of it is how you track it, and also making sure the people are following the process. Because if you're not following the process, you're not going to have the ability to pull the reports, no matter how good the system may or may not be. So at what point were you like, okay, the business out of the stage, I need to get, someone like Housecall Pro in place? Like what was that moment in time? Because you ranked yourself as -10, but somewhere there you're like, well, I should probably do this thing, even though I'm a -10. So what did that look like?
Yeah, I think it was the day that I walked in our office. Like we'd kind of grown to where we were. I think at that point we were in 3 cities. We were in 3 metropolitan areas, and we literally had a desk set up in 3, we called it the booking room, but we had 3 desks set up, and on each desk was our spiral bound notebook. And I walked in, and as luck has it, of course, all 3 phones rang at the same time, and they were all for the same city. So there was 3 people in one corner at one desk trying to look over each other to see oh, do we have availability tomorrow at 12? And I'm like, this is ridiculous. We've got to come up with something, because they're going to miss this book trying to figure out if we have availability or not. So that's when we started doing our research, started kind of vetting some companies, and gosh, time flies, but that was probably around 2015. I don't know if you can pull back old records. So we were with Housecall pretty early on there. So, there was a lot of features that were great. And like any business, as we've grown and everything, we were with Housecall for a while. At some point, we kind of felt like, okay, we're growing a little bit faster than maybe Housecall is, and we decided that, hey, there was this other software that fit our needs, and we went there for a while. I think that was right around 2019. I don't mind sharing. I hope you don't mind. It was a program called Service
No.
Titan.
Yep.
So 2019, we went to Service Titan. Not that we were disappointed or anything with Housecall, but we just felt like the stage our business was at, it was not quite meeting the needs that we had. So we went to Service Titan. We were with them for up until this year, really. We were with them for about 6 years, and they're a great company as well. For us, what we started to realize, there was a lot of changes going on their end, and frankly, I just being shooting straight, I felt like I was being nickeled and dimed to death. We're a carpet cleaning company. Our average ticket is $300, and when they hit you with this feature that you really need, but it's stupid expensive, and it's like, well, that might work for an HVAC company that gets $10,000 or $5,000, on certain jobs, but we don't. And it just became more than we needed in ways. But then there was things that we did need, and I felt like we were getting nickel and dime. So started the search again this year, and came back to Housecall, did a demo, went through the whole process, and honestly, I was just blown away with how far Housecall had came with the features and the capabilities and stuff like that. And as soon as I went through the demo, I was like, this is a no-brainer. Like, how quickly can I onboard and transition back? So that's what we did.
And from the pricing perspective, like, what would you estimate it is? Is it like half the price, a quarter of the price, a tenth of the price? Like, what did that look like for your bottom line?
Yeah. So according to Service Titan, we were getting an unbelievable deal because we had been with them since 2019. I don't know what their going rate is now, but I think it's pretty high per user. But even at the unbelievable deal that we were supposedly getting versus coming back to Housecall, I would say we're getting it, third of the price of what we're paying, and we're getting features that we didn't have, which is just like, it's a no-brainer to me. I mean, everything's expensive in today's world. Business is offense and defense. You're trying to make money, but then you're not trying to spend money where you don't need to. And then the system flow. I mean, coming back to Housecall, it really helps streamline some of our operations. Our workflows are cleaner. Our office staff can move quicker as far as booking appointments. That was a big thing. It was just the ability to not have awkward silence and trying to figure out where I'm putting this job and having to click between screens. Like with Housecall, you don't have to do that. I love the feature that you can take the intake form, you can go right to the schedule, you can click on the schedule board, and you can book a job right there. And we didn't have that capability, and that was something that for years I thought, okay, it's going to come any day. Never did. So Housecall's got a lot of great features for the value that and what we're paying. So hopefully you're not going to increase the price on me too much.
No. I mean, look, like, our strategy has always been to offer great software at a great price. And frankly, do 90% of the things that you could see some of these like enterprise grade softwares do for a tenth of the price if we can, And so I think for large organizations, it gets a little closer, but it's still a third of the cost. And so I think from just ease of use, we model a lot of our user design around Google, and material design is what they call it. And so for a lot of people, when you were saying earlier, it's about training people and all those things, people are already trained on Google products because they use Google products in their life. So they're not going to be like, oh, what's this triple bar button going to do? It's like, oh, okay, I know what that is. What does the cog do? Oh, yeah, that's like a settings. And so it's simple things like that, which seem like you can't really tell on a demo, but when you get into it and you use it every day and you start counting clicks, that's when it clicks in your head, or your office manager's head, or your CSR's head, who's living and breathing the software every day, or the field tech, on the mobile side of things too.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most underrated Housecall Pro feature? Like, what's something that not enough people talk about, but you're like, man, this little thing has saved me, I don't know, something, or like this thing is invaluable because of X.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would say number one is the ability to schedule right on the schedule or the calendar for us. I can't tell you how much money we probably lost over the years with awkward phone conversations. And what I mean by that is, the customer service reps trying to click between screens and find availability, and it's just maybe they were not our strongest customer service rep, and there's just like this awkward silence, and then it just makes me cringe when I would listen to a recording and the customer saying, "Are you still there?" Like, oh, come on, So, I mean, the simplicity of Housecall and booking, again, nothing else matters if you are not booking the appointments. Like, there's nothing to do. Like, you got to make sure that you're booking the appointments at a high level. And we put a lot of emphasis on that. So the ability to book from the dispatch screen or the schedule is awesome. The intake form is very simple, being able to put some notes in there for a new customer service rep to be able to, like, hey, maybe I don't know everything frontwards and backwards just yet. Here's my cheat sheet. Yes, we do service that. That's critical. So, and then for us too, the onboarding of that, just to keep talking about that, like with Service Titan, when we were bringing a new customer service rep, it's like, all right, here we go. Here's a week's worth of work after they've even done the online training program. It was a lot to learn. With this, we just onboarded a new CSR last week. She got it in like one day. I mean, it's like, I don't want to say it's dummy proof, but it's super simple. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, remember, guys, this is coming from a -10, okay? So just keep that that in your mind.
I mean, literally, it's like, look at the time, click it, customer name, or if you're doing the intake form, I mean, it's simple, and that's what I like about it. So a cool feature, and this was something that I really missed when we left Housecall the first time and came back. Technicians love this. I love this, maybe because I'm a real estate junkie, but the Zillow showing the house and the features, like, that's cool to me. Like, I know our technicians have expressed, like, I like knowing what I'm going into. I like to kind of prepare and plan, and I see, okay, this house is roughly this number of square feet, or it has this number of bedrooms. And it helps the communication between our manager and technician as well. Our manager, maybe he's not looking at all the stuff inside the house, but he's able to kind of bridge a gap of communication there with the technician before he arrives. So that's a really cool feature that really we enjoy a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's not like a feature we can market very easily, or like, it's not like an add-on or anything like that. It's just, It's just a part of the system that's built in there where, we have to license a data feed, and we have to license that data feed and show that for, the tens of millions of homes that we have being serviced and everything. So there's a cost to it, but I think the value is just like the communication, and more importantly, the technician. Truck rolls are so expensive. And if you show up to a job and it's much bigger or much smaller, and you spend a bunch of time on it than you did, you're just increasing efficiency just by making sure you're rolling the right stuff to the right house. And a lot of people don't give that enough credit, I would say. But it's one of those costs that's like a hidden cost. But then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, I can get one extra truck roll a day times 27 people, or in your case, 20 plus vans, and like that one extra a day, like, stacks up in a very meaningful way from a capacity perspective. I know you guys have that same day mindset logistics, which a lot of people are like, what? That's freaking crazy, but this is how you eke out that extra time or as your just real revenue that pays for the software in, like, in minutes.
Oh, really? 100%. Yeah. I mean, I can't stress the importance of the ease of that ability to schedule. And like you said, efficiency. I mean, it's killing the business as far as, okay, maybe we didn't get one more appointment today that we could have got if we could have easily looked at the schedule, added this job in here. We had a technician that was easily could have got to this appointment. That's just a critical component. It's just, you got to be efficient. I don't know any successful businesses that don't have a certain level of efficiency. You can only be lucky or good for so long. You've got to be efficient.
Yeah, especially as you grow in size, because every little thing just gets multiplied by 10.
Yeah.
But if you're smaller, you don't really notice it, and it doesn't matter so much. But as soon as you got more trucks rolling, all of a sudden that little bump, that could be an extra $1 million in the bank, that year that you can make in revenue.
Yeah.
Simply. What do you think? I mean, one of the things you mentioned was, your CSRs, booking calls, it being tracked in the platform. You guys are now using Housecall Pro Voice. What does that look like, and what does that mean for your business versus what you were doing before? Because I think a lot of people are like, VoIP, I'll just do a Grasshopper or a Ring Central. But like, why bring it all in-house in one place?
Yeah. So that was actually one of the reasons that I think was a big reason when we outgrew Housecall was didn't have at that time the call recording and the phone system that integrated. That was a big decision for us, part of our decision to make that change. So I was really excited to see that, because that is a key component for us. Listen, time is money. I don't have time to be clicking in all these, logging into these different things, trying to pull here, trying to pull there. To be able to go into one program and look at a simple report and say, hey, this customer service rep called this many calls, booked this number of jobs, that's just critical information. Again, and it goes back to the efficiency that we were talking about. If you're not using the phone system, you're really missing out. I don't see how you operate, because the ability for, if a customer's used this before, for them to automatically populate in the system, to be able to, listen to a recording right there in the system and see what conversation was had with the customer.
Yeah.
That's just like, that's how we live and die as far as in our operation. Like we're flying blind if we don't have that information, and we need to be able to access that information as easily and quickly as possible. And the phone system does that. Quality of the phone system has been great too. It's not like I've had issues with drop calls or, anything at all. I mean, the quality overall of the phone system from a interaction with the customer and everything's been great.
Yeah. And, when we pick vendors to work with to help power, pieces of Housecall Pro, in that case, we picked Twilio, and Twilio is probably the biggest publicly traded, name in the space. So
right.
They invest billions of dollars in this stuff. And so it's not as if we're building stuff from scratch. It's built on, other foreign technologies that far surpass anything we try to do ourselves. You really get the same level of thing as some of these other VoIP providers that's all they offer. But you get it embedded, which I think Chase mentioned, which is like the ability to see, is it an existing customer or not? Sounds basic, but that one changes the tenor of conversations. And from just being able to see how we service them or not, what does their service history look like? And, or what did the office person say that now the technician has to know about Rocky, who runs out of the home? And now that, you got to be careful about little things like that, that end up as, one-star reviews. It's little things like that you don't think too much about. But like Chase said, all these things add up. They all add up. Chase, where's a place where you go for like the latest and greatest information? Do you have any podcasts or books or Facebook groups, or like, where do people like you go to kind of stay on top of stuff and to learn?
Yeah, so I'm a new member. I'll tell you, I'm a new member, so I don't know all the ins and outs of it. But the Superpro Facebook community group, I mean, that's the little bit that I've thumbed through that. It looks like a great resource. Professional that are dealing with the same struggles that we're dealing with. And yes, some might be on a different level or a different size or whatever, but it's all the same. So that's already been great to be a part of that community and see that interaction. Outside of that, I've been lucky and blessed to have some mentors over the years that I still have great relationships with, because why try to reinvent the wheel if it's already been invented? I want to improve the wheel. I don't want to reinvent it, right? So any information that you can get from someone that's already been there, done that, that's going to save you time, money, and it's just a no-brainer again. I think if you're looking to scale your business, you need to read the E-Myth. I think that's a definite book that you need to read. I've been fortunate over the years. I was a part of an organization. Howard Partridge is a gentleman that he used to run, he kind of took over the Zig Ziglar Foundation. The Zig Ziglar kind of passed it on to Howard, and Howard is a phenomenal human being and great resources as far as leadership and scaling and, name it. It's got a lot of great things. So that's what I've kind of relied on. And then, I think one of the things that I had to learn early on was failure is going to be a part of it. And there's going to be things in the business that are not going to work out. You have to be willing to honestly look at those things. No one really wants to open the door and see what the new customer service rep's booking percentage is if you think it's going to be bad, but you need to look at it sooner than later, because it's only going to get worse, right? So don't avoid the problem and think that it'll just go away or it'll take care of itself type deal. It won't. It'll get bigger and it'll get worse. Yeah. So you've got to be able to really look at those issues. And again, you may make a change, and it may be a change that makes things worse. That's okay. You tried something, you tracked it obviously, and it's worse. So try something different. But anytime you can, lean on a mentor or someone that's been there, a lot of time that's going to save you a lot of trouble and time.
Yeah, I don't think there's any failure unless there's failure to learn.
Right.
Whatever you do, doing something better than doing nothing. And so making forward momentum is probably one of the only things that really matters. And that's what differentiates people from being, okay at business versus being great at business, which is just like, you just keep going, you keep learning. And mentors are kind of like, I call those like hidden hands in your development, and I think, what's that one quote? It's like an old It's an old book, but it's like essentially what it says is, not a single person on the face of the earth knows how to make me. What is it? And it's a pencil. But you're like, wait, what? What, a pencil? I'm like, imagine all like the carpentry, lumber, then you have like all the graphite and the lead and like all the things. And it seems like the most simple thing there. But same thing with like a business too. Like there's so many facets and you're relying on so many other people's knowledge. Howard Partridge, I met that guy a long time ago when we were really focused on carpet cleaners in the early days. And he just has a great system, and he has his own real business. So he's not just a coach guru. He has his own real business. And so those are often ones too, when you're looking for mentors or people you're following, like, do they have their own business? Are they still actively running it, or do they still actively own it? Or did they just sell it and now they're just, coaching on the side? All really good tips. This has been a really long interview already. Chase, is there one thing you would tell baby Chase 15, 10 years ago when you're just starting the business, something where you could be like, you could go backwards in time, your DeLorean, and then and just be like, hey, Chase, do this one piece of advice?
Yeah. Oh, man, it's tough. I probably tell myself more than one thing, but the one thing for sure is, just don't be afraid. I mean, change is difficult for all of us. It's scary when this is your livelihood. This is how you, in my case, and I'm sure like a lot of other pros, this is how you support your family. So, it's hard to go invest this money that may or may not work out. But, if you truly want to scale, if you truly want to get out of the wearing all the hats mentality, doing it all, you've got to be willing to try things. You can't sit on the sideline forever. And, I think I'd tell myself that it's okay to fail. Again, look at it honestly, don't avoid it, right? Track it. And if you do that, then a lot of times the answer is pretty clear. If you can't honestly look at something and know the answer, then you probably don't have enough information. And you need to go back to looking at what else could have contributed to this outcome. And you need to keep pulling as much data and as much information as you can gather. And if you get enough information, a lot of times the answer is pretty obvious, right? But again, just don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try things.
I love it. Such a great little ending piece here to this amazing interview. Thank you, Chase, for sharing all these golden nuggets. Clearly, you've done something really well. If people want to go, check them out online, just go to a local pro. Go look at Birmingham, Alabama. It'll pop up. They've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews. They clearly know what they're doing. Chase, you built an amazing business. Thanks for being a great partner with us at Housecall Pro and trusting us with your business. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Absolutely. Thank you, Roland. It's an honor. I appreciate you having me today. And, good luck to everybody out there. Keep doing the good work. So that's awesome. And for everyone else that's listening, if you're not using Housecall Pro and you want to see that demo, like Chase mentioned, you can always go to housecallpro.com/podcast deal, go in there, fill in information. Someone from our team will call you within a minute, guaranteed. Really try it if you do it. We're pretty good at the phones. But if you want to talk to me directly, you can always text me, 858-215-1512, and I'll connect you personally to someone as well, based upon, I don't know, maybe you got a cool business doing something different, or you want to talk to someone else. So feel free to text me as well. Go to that webpage. Once again, thanks again for being on the Superpro podcast. We'll stay tuned for another great episode next week. See y'all later. Bye now. Thanks.
The Superpro podcast is brought to you by Housecall Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. Housecall Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with Housecall Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.